Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. My name is Talisa,
And I am Gabriel.
and we are a couple of therapists.
In today's session, we're going to be reviewing marriage advice.
Let's talk about it.
All right.
So, just to start before we talk about marriage advice, I am a little stuffy because I'm fighting either a cold or some allergies. So, I apologize for that. And we're also testing these mics,
Yeah,
these
so
tiny mics.
hopefully these are a little bit better than the other ones. But yeah, if that sounds pretty bad, let us know in the comments. Um,
So, we got married.
yeah, we did get married. Last Friday, we got married. So we wanted to run this little fun video to kind of do a little bit of rating and talking a little bit about some, common marriage advice. So we have a list
We thought it
of,
would be fitting to talk about marriage advice.
yeah, so we have a little list. So,
And this list came from some of you guys. I asked my Insta for common marriage advice or relationship advice for couples that they've heard. And so I got a few responses. So thank you for all the responses. Let's start with the classic.
let's do it.
I had so many people giving me this exact one. Never go to sleep angry.
Never go to sleep angry. I mean, so how realistic is that? I mean, we cannot really always go to sleep happy and jolly. And I think the question is here is that do we have the option to maybe not go to sleep like furious, but maybe table some of the problems and not be pressured to resolve everything right then and there to not go to sleep angry? What do you think about that?
I
Tabling, the issue.
I made a video about this specific advice in my therapy Instagram because I
Hmm.
I hear it a lot, and I think it puts so much pressure on the couple to resolve
I
the
agree.
issue
Yeah.
immediately. And I think that what happens or what can happen is either you rush through it
Hmm.
just to kind of resolve it, or you avoid it and you're like, let's just not go to bed angry. And so maybe the conflict doesn't even get discussed or resolved because there's that pressure to just let's not go to sleep angry. Let's not even bother with that.
Yeah, it just gets basically like pushed to the side, ignored. So yeah, I think that if we look at the bigger picture here, I think it's a bit unrealistic to say don't go to sleep angry, because couple dynamics are complex, right? So we cannot have that expectation that
Yeah.
this problem or this situation is going to be resolved right then and there, or to have the excuse of like, let's not go to sleep angry, let's forget about it.
Right.
Because oftentimes some of these things require additional thought processing. And maybe at the moment in which we're having a discussion, or we're having a conflict, we're not in the correct mindset or space to really have a productive discussion that would lead to a resolution. So maybe we need to table it, you know?
I think that a lot of our society is also very hesitant or adverse. Is that the
Hmm.
like there's an aversion to anger. We don't like to be angry. We consider it a negative emotion. And it's a very normal part of our human
Of
existence to
course.
feel anger. And sometimes it feels out of control because it just comes out of nowhere. I think it's allowing for you to be angry and being okay with the range of emotions that you can feel as a human being
Hmm.
that will often come because you are in relation to others. And so you are faced with more people, more of their
Hmm.
thoughts, their behaviors, and their feelings. And it's hard to not be angry at times.
Yeah, of course. And I think I fully agree with what you said. I mean, anger is such a normal part of the emotional spectrum. I mean, it's oftentimes, I don't know if this is the correct word, but like villainized or demonized. That like if
Yes,
especially when we talk about gender roles in a relationship, like
right.
if the man gets angry, there's a specific connotation there or specific stereotype that we
Like
like to.
aggressive.
Yeah, and then if the woman gets angry, she's being dramatic,
She's crazy.
or she's crazy. Exactly. So I think that
Yeah.
we should sit a little bit more with our anger and how we process it. And going to bed angry doesn't necessarily mean going to bed furious. Maybe you had a disagreement, and maybe tomorrow might be a better day to discuss this disagreement.
Also, so last session we talked about reality TV,
Hmm.
and one of the things that I saw in Love Island was there was a situation with between two of the girls, and one of them was like, "Hey, can we talk about it?" Because the other one was really angry about it,
Okay.
and she said, "Yeah, let's go have a chat." And
Let's go
when
have a chat.
she yeah, let's go have a
So
chat.
sorry.
When they were walking, the girl that was angry was like, "You know what? Actually, I don't think it's a good idea that we have a chat right now. I don't think it's a
Hmm.
good idea that we talk because I am feeling very angry and very emotional, and I don't want to say anything that can be hurtful and things that I will regret." And I think that was such a great example of how to allow for space when we are having very heightened emotions,
Mm,
such as anger and such as like having conflict in relationships, whether it's with your partner or with your family member or your friend. Like, it's okay to take space to process or to regulate. You don't have to solve it immediately, as long as both of you are agreeing, okay, yeah, let's take some space, let's sleep on it, we
mhm.
can revisit, you know?
Yeah, I like that. So I
Yeah.
guess unpopular opinion: go to sleep angry.
Go to sleep angry, it's fine. As long as you're going back to the conflict and talking about it, it's okay. And as couples, maybe you will revisit certain conversations. You will have, we see this a lot in therapy, like we've been fighting about the same thing for years. Sometimes that happens, and it's about let's address it, let's talk about it, let's have conversations about it, and not just avoid it or rush into it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Awesome. Next one.
So you've heard of the happy wife, happy life.
Hmm.
Have you heard happy spouse, happy house?
So, fun fact to all of you tuning in, we've already recorded this episode, and we went through all of these actually last week.
We
Um,
recorded the episode, but the episode did not record us.
yeah, yeah. So we literally sat here, had a full conversation, and it was great. And we had some tech issues, so we're revisiting these comments and this conversation this week. So yeah. So kind of going back to the happy spouse, happy house. So I think this has a lot to do with the idea that, and this is particularly, always kind of said to men, like
Happy
happy
wife?
wife,
Yeah.
happy life, as in, if my wife is not happy, I'm not gonna have a happy life. And I think it's such an interesting kind of take because it puts these pressures
Yeah.
on both sides, but primarily more on the wife,
Of course.
because she needs to be happy in order for me to have a happy life or a happy house in this scenario. So I am not a big fan of happy wife, happy life, happy spouse, happy house.
And it's like, oh yeah, I have to do what the missus is saying because, happy wife, happy life. Like, ugh, drag me to it
Mhm.
when it's like, come on, like your spouse, it's not that they're telling you or um obligating you, like forcing you
Yeah,
to do something. And I think that that's where the issue comes in, is that a lot of people say it from that place of like, "Oh, I feel forced," or like she's making me, and that's not nice. That's places a lot of load into the wife.
yeah. And and I think also in couple dynamics, and maybe you can chime in a little bit here since you're the expert. I think there needs to be a clear definition of what is happy, what
Right.
is, and I think we talked about this last time, a successful relationship. What is your definition of a successful relationship? I think that, you know, it's not realistic to think that both individuals within a relationship are going to be happy at every single minute of every single day. There's going to be disagreements, and there's some days that you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to recognize that just because you're not happy one day or 2 days, does not necessarily mean that you're not happy with your partner. I think that's a keynote
That's a
there
keynote.
to
Yeah.
take, especially with this advice of a happy spouse, happy house. Life happens. Life is constantly moving. And this is one of the things that we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Work happens. Life happens, as in like my car broke down, or you maybe got an offender vendor and bumped into somebody, scratched your car.
You lost someone, grief, life transitions,
Mm-hmm.
the loss of a parent, the loss of a child, the loss of a sibling, of a family member, of a friend, all of these things that are part of life and are not happy, they're painful.
Hmm.
And happiness is not a given. It's kind of like a moment that comes and goes,
Yeah.
and we cannot place this expectation that our household has to be happy all the time. It's unrealistic,
Yeah, it's just a matter of recognizing the balance.
right?
And I think that whenever you're in a space in which you can communicate with your partner these emotions, specifically that you're not happy
Yeah,
in this given moment in time, and having them as a source of support through this process, I think that is the key there. So, if
I really loved what you said,
Mhm.
that just because you're not happy doesn't mean that you're not happy in the relationship. That is
Correct.
such a beautifully said thing, because sometimes we can't really discern
Mhm.
where our happiness starts and the relationship ends, and it's kind of like it bleeds together.
Yeah, and I wanted to add that it's especially with happiness. I mean, we remember, even when you're a couple and you're a unit, right? You're still individuals. You're still your own world. You're just merging some of these
Yeah.
aspects of your world together. So I think that it's important that we also seek happiness from outside things,
Yeah.
right? From our individual things, from our hobbies, from our movies, from our books, from our friends, and not solely depend on our significant other for a full thing of happiness. Because then what happens when we have a disagreement? Like, are we just going to be miserable? No, I think it's important to keep that balance. And I would change the saying to supported spouse, happy life.
Exactly. Also, like, let's acknowledge that there are people who struggle with anxiety and depression and other
Hmm.
mental illnesses that make it really hard to experience happiness in general and
Hmm.
pleasure. And so that is a wildly unfair thing to say, that happy spouse, happy house. It places a lot of expectations and pressure that are unrealistic in nature, but also don't take account for the human experiences.
Of course, and not everybody experiences happiness the same, at the same level, at the same,
Yeah.
spectrum, right? Like maybe I see a puppy and I get really excited and it gives me happiness,
And
but
maybe I'm fearful of dogs.
exactly. So I think that
Yeah.
having a realistic expectation and a clear balance
Yeah.
is key. And then obviously the supportive aspect of your spouse can definitely make your life a lot more, I would say, happier.
Next time you hear that, you can counter respond with supportive spouse,
Spouse,
happy life,
happy house.
happy house. Right. Okay. Um,
Next one.
the next one is don't parent your partner.
Oh my God.
Thoughts?
Don't do it. Just don't do it. I think that, and grill me all you want. Say it in the comments. If there is a dynamic that is not agreed upon, because let's not deny that there are some dynamics that have some specific satisfaction and some specific rewards that are
Some
obtained
role playing
from
stuff,
this dynamic.
right?
But let's say that this is nothing that is agreed upon. If any individual is parenting the other one, then the person that is being parented has some unresolved things that need to be resolved in order for um, for them to be fully present in the relationship.
Right.
So one of the things that I think we covered last time in this particular comment was that um, individuals who feel the need to be parented by their significant others, primarily what happens is that they had some unresolved issues during that period where they were being parented by a parent, right? Um, it's it's really important that individuals in general, and this is my professional opinion, I think that it's really important that individuals have a sense of autonomy. Um, and this often gets developed during the teenage, early adult years. Also, during the childhood stages, a lot of autonomy is developed in the way in which children play with each other, in the way in which children interact individually.
Yeah.
So, I feel like a not a strong sense of autonomy will cause an individual to create this attachment style of somebody needing to take care of me in a parent-like relationship. So I am a strong, strong believer that no, it is not a good thing for a relationship, again, unless if it's agreed upon and structured accordingly. If it's just kind of like you kind of landed on this thing in this situation,
Yeah.
that it is important that there's an assessment, a reassessment of oneself, and for both parties, for the party that's parenting, because you obviously primarily it's kind of a reaction, I believe, of wanting to assist out of a place of primarily care, um, but then also the other person allowing this and demonstrating these behaviors. I think that it's important that it is addressed. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
I think that it's very easy to fall into this dynamic of parent child within the context of a romantic relationship.
Hmm.
Sometimes because maybe it could be that you were parentified as a child, that you were put in this role of parent from a young age,
Okay.
where maybe you take care of your siblings or of your parents and you had to grow up very early. That's a huge load for kids, and it can be very easy to fall into this role because it's what you know.
Okay.
It's what you've been kind of like doing forever. And so sometimes we can kind of like find ourselves in these roles in the relationship, or maybe we identify very strongly with the role of being a parent. This can sometimes happen in certain relationships where you have children, in that your role as, let's say, a mother, you see yourself as a mother, and it's like a big, big part of your identity.
Hmm.
Maybe too big of a part of your identity, where you overly identify with being a mom and not with other roles in your life. Like the priority and the only thing is being a mother. And so that sometimes can come and bleed into the relationship, where you can kind of continue this parenting role with your partner, and it can de-eroticize the relationship because no one wants to have sex with their parents or their child. They should never, right?
Yeah.
And so when that happens, there can be this intimacy issue with the relationship, because not that we've had the conversation where you're treating me as your child or you're treating me as your mom or whatever it is. It's because these are things that are happening subtly.
Yeah, it's almost like a like an unconscious thing that's
Yes.
occurring that's manifesting in behaviors.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. In the subtle behaviors where maybe I'm doing certain behaviors that correspond to me parenting you, or like being your mom, or I treat you like a child, and you might be feeling weird about it. You haven't identified that you are being treated like a child, but it's like, I'm suddenly turned off by this, or something's not right here.
I like
And
that.
I want to also
Mm,
say that this does not apply for people who are in a relationship with people who have, like, for people who are caregivers in the relationship, because this
mhm,
happens where someone has an illness or an ailment, and as a partner, then you step up to be in a lot of these cases, you step up as a partner and you are the caregiver, the primary caregiver of this person, and you kind of have to enter the role of caregiver or parent. Sometimes these two look alike.
mhm.
And so the issue is that maybe there are no conversations about it or no way to manage this role. And so not only are you dealing with the stress of being a caregiver, but now you're dealing with the roles of how this affects our sexual intimacy.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned the parenting side, and I mentioned the
The child.
the child side. I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So folks, don't don't parent your partner, or don't
Try not to.
try not to. Yeah, or don't fall into a comfortable space in which your partner is parenting you and you are comfortable with that. You are your own individual. You're all your autonomous being. And I think that it's important that, again, going back to what we talked about last time, which is creating that balance, and it could, like you mentioned, yeah, it could create this intimacy issue and de-erotize the dynamic significantly. So
Right.
notice your patterns and your behaviors, and for those parents out there, recognize that clear separation of dynamic with your children as well as with your spouse.
Yes. And
If
have conversations about it.
Yeah.
Like, if you feel like you're entering
Mhm.
this dynamic or something feels like a little iffy,
Yeah, and if you are a parent and you have any questions, leave us a comment below, and we'll be happy to provide some, um,
resources or
yeah, and some
have
feedback as
conversations
well.
about that. We would love to know your thoughts about all of these.
Mhm.
Um, I think that a lot of these are either they have good intentions,
Yep.
they've been passed down from generations, and we know why they're popular. Others are very kind of like straightforward, yes, but there's nuance to all of this, right? Right?
Of course.
These don't happen in a vacuum, and I think it's important that we acknowledge it. Yes, don't parent your partner, but also if we zoom out of the picture, there are reasons why we fall into this dynamic. And if you are in a relationship where this is happening, don't feel ashamed. It's not a judgment thing. It's a let's recognize that this is happening. Let's identify where this is coming from. Why is this coming up? How can you and I both show up so that we can stop parenting each other or being, in
Mhm.
that childlike mentality and like dynamic, and let's both poner de nuestra parte, like,
Yeah. Let's both meet in a s in a middle ground in which we're both helping and supporting each other, and again, creating that balance.
okay.
What's the next one?
If you know how to cook, you can get married.
Oh my god,
This is a
please.
very gender
What is this? The
typical.
1940s?
You already know that this is primarily said to women because
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not even going to entertain this one. I Next.
please learn how to cook regardless of your gender because you are a human being that needs food to survive. So I'll say that. Like, it's fine if in your household one person is doing the cooking and the other one cleans or whatever, but have the roles laid in the table, the expectations, all of that, converse it before you are entering a dynamic without knowing, because that can cause resentment. And go to some cooking classes. That's a great date night activity so that everyone knows how to cook and can pull
Yes.
their own load.
Yes. So 2025, not 1940s.
Okay.
Moving on.
So when we tried recording this episode, you were hinting at this one with every single one. Um,
Say it.
it's never 50-50. The goal is 100, but it's rarely 50 each one. Sometimes it's 80-20, 10-90, etc.
Yeah, so this is one that I really like. Actually. There's this misconception that relationships are 50-50, that it's always half and half, that it's always, you know, like for lack of a better word, like I cook and you do the dishes. Like it's really it's not a realistic vision of a healthy or what I would consider a healthy dynamic. You know, I think the way that I see it is that if you're in a space, because again, life happens, things happen,
Yeah.
stress happens, anxiety happens. So we have the surrounding world that is full of factors that can affect the ability for us to give a certain percentage, right? So I think that if there needs to be a clear communication, first of all, I think communication is number one in couples and partners. But I think one of the most important thing is that let's say I come in and I am at a 20%, and you notice that and you give me that 80. I think that it's important that no matter what percentage you're in, if you're on 2%, bless you. if you're
Thank
on,
you.
if you're on 2%, give your 100% of that 2%. I think that the no matter in what percentage you are, showing up as 100% in that particular space is what will make the difference on whether you are, on 2% or 100%, right? So, and these could be demonstrated through like subtle, kind of demonstrations of affection or whatever works for your dynamic. But I think that it's important that no matter how low in the percentage spectrum we are and what we can give to the relationship, we at least try to give a little bit in within that capability.
There's a lot that we can unpack with this percentage in a relationship.
Hmm.
And obviously, it differs depending on whether it's a heterosexual couple, a queer couple. It differs, right? But in the heterosexual dynamic, there are layers to it because, and we can have a different session about this. And if you want to have that, let us know.
Yeah.
But I think that there are layers of gender inequality.
Hmm.
I think that it also the gender roles and expectations, the mental load that a lot of primarily women carry in the household, all of these things that are very silent and subtle that aren't talked about and are just kind of like expected in the women's half. And again, we can go deeper into it in another session, but I also feel like keep this in mind when you are talking about a percentage. Sometimes one person is giving even more than what it seems like they give.
Hmm.
And so it's like having conversations again about like what's the system in our household. I love I my framework for therapy and mental health and a lot of social issues is about the systems, right? And how the systems affect us and the negative side of being in a system. But I also like to use this idea of placing systems in like mine and using the system mentality for the household and for the way you want to do things within your relationship. It only has to make sense for you and your couple, like for you and your partner. And so if you're like, you know what, yeah, 50-50 for us, it works. Okay, cool, that's great. But if it doesn't work for other people, then that's fine. It's like you said, it's allowing for one or the other to show up in however capacity they can, but just kind of like trying to show up. Where are you at today? What can you give? Like how can I help? I really enjoy and like when couples ask themselves like, where are you at? Like what do you need? And sometimes, yeah, I know that the other person may say, I don't know what I need. But I think that just the act of asking
Yeah.
sometimes helps the other person feel like, okay, that this person has my back, or like they're trying to show up. And if I do have an answer, I can tell them, and they're gonna pull their weight.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to add in this particular conversation that we see a lot of different relationships and in many different outlets, our friends, our family, social media.
Yeah.
But I think that when it comes to your partner and relationships in general, your relationship with your partner, I think that it's important that you don't compare yourself because
Mhm.
every relationship is different. Every
Yeah.
individual is a brand new world, and people show up for each other in many different ways. And the way in which, Tom and Sally show up for each other, it doesn't necessarily mean that, Jared and Stacy show up for each other. Sorry for these generic names. I apologize.
Generic heterosexual straight names.
I'm sorry.
Let us sorry for being heteronormative. But yes, I agree.
But yeah, I think it's important that we don't compare ourselves because,
Absolutely.
I can't, I would love to compare myself to the perfect couple and say like I want that, but I'm not them. So
And
I
even the perfect couple might not be the perfect couple.
exactly.
That's the thing, that we see these relationships, and we see it a lot in the media of it
Mhm.
all, and they look a certain way, and these influencers with these relationships, and they have everything, and
It's
it's like,
yeah, it's fake.
and
Yep,
that
we talked about this already.
it's fake. A lot of times it is fake, and then you know that saying where it's like, the most toxic couple you know is on Instagram leaving a caption that's this big for their partner. And we see that and we're like, "Oh wow, they love each other." Like, that's what a demonstration of love. But sometimes it's because they're making up for something that's missing or lacking.
Yeah,
And so if it works, whatever works for you and your relationship, that's what's most important. However, with this, it's 80/20. Try not to always be in the 20 and having your partner carry the entire load, because that's also unfair.
yeah.
There has to be a balance within the imbalance of it all.
Exactly. I think that if you fall into a pattern in which you're constantly giving a lower percentage, and this is not a comfortable space for both individuals, because like again, some dynamics this might actually work. Then I think that it's important that you speak up, you sit down with that, and have a conversation about like what can improve
Yeah.
in the relationship.
The next one I think is so fun and great, and I love it. Have sex before going out.
This one is, I think we covered this briefly on the last one, and I think this was during the time where the recording stopped recording. Hopefully, this is still recording. I mean, the mics are on, so I hope. But yes, usually, just let's think about it from a very basic level. We go out to dinner, we we have a few drinks, we eat, and then we come back and we are bloated, tired, we're farting. Um, you know,
Appetizer, entree, dessert, drinks.
you, cigarette. What else? You know, it's just too much, too much. I think that I heard this in a video that s- explore intimacy backwards, because just because you start the date with sexual intimacy doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot end with intimacy.
Right,
Remember, intimacy doesn't necessarily need to be sexual, and we have this perception that oh, at the end of the day we need to have sex because that would make a successful date, right? No, not necessarily. Start the day off by engaging in sexual intimacy, and then see how your dynamic changes. You're already,
relax.
feeling better. You already accomplished the first win of the night in terms of your intimacy. So I think that it's a great idea. It's super fun, to kind of spice things up in that way, and then you don't have this pressure afterwards
Right.
when you stuff your face with the cheese plate, and then you're gassy, and then I want to eat the whole dessert because I'm a dessert person, and then I'm like, oh, but then I'm not gonna have like you know
Well, then one or two things happen. Either you force yourself to go through it, and what you have is a mediocre encounter where no one's having fun, no one's enjoying it,
exactly.
you're not present,
Hmm.
you're not connecting, or you're like, actually, let's kind of put it off. Like, I'm too full, and so one creates pressure and anxiety, and the other one creates avoidance, and so and anxiety, because avoidance creates anxiety. So it's like, let's, like you said, let's rearrange it. It's being open to changing things up. I feel like we love rules. We love to have like a schedule, and like very rigid. A lot of people. love it, to have this rigid, like, steps. And so at night, we have sex in the bed. Well, we can change it up too. So, like,
I think we said last time we were joking about, you know, you don't even need to have it at the beginning of
good
the day.
during
Just during the restaurant's bathroom. Obviously, I'm not condoning,
public
public
indie.
indecency or public nudity, in any sort of way.
But if
But
you lock the door or something, I mean,
if you're
if it's not harming anyone, as a sex therapist, if it's not harming anyone, if there is consent at all times from all parties, and if it's pleasurable, that's it.
yeah, just don't break the law, folks.
Right.
We're
Okay.
not
Yeah.
condoning that
Yes.
here. Yeah,
But have fun.
yeah.
Okay.
We get a call. We got arrested because you told us to have sex in the restaurant.
The next one, communication is key.
I can't say it enough. I I treat children and teenagers, and oftentimes I have to do a lot of family kind of interactions. And no matter the relationship, no matter if it's mom, dad, siblings, uncles, aunts, your significant other, your situationship, whatever it is that you are doing, friends with
Yeah.
benefits, communication is everything.
Yes.
Communication is the road to clarity, to less anxiety, and to full satisfaction. That is
Yep.
my I live by this. I preach this. Not preach this as I'm a preacher. No, I talked about this a lot in therapy, both in my personal life, with my friends, with my family. Communication would open incredible doors for you. So when there's communication, there is clarity. If
Yeah.
there's effective communication, um, but I think that without communication, there's no way that you are able to have a successful relationship in any aspect, no matter romantic or whatnot, in any aspect.
I also think that, just to add to that, um, yes, communication is key, and try not to just stay in the communication of it all, because yes, there is, I mean, communicating is everything, and there's so much benefits to talking about things and processing and all of that. However, sometimes certain things require more, because communication can feel stagnant, like you're staying just in the talks.
Hmm.
And there are conflicts, issues, whatever you want to call them, problems that require action. And so you want communication plus action equals clarity and a good time. You want to be able to have conversations and communicate, and then be able to do whatever it is that needs to be, like, done to improve.
Yeah. So yes, communication is key.
Okay. There's nothing that good sex won't fix.
Nah,
Yee!
lies, 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 lies. You could be the most toxic or be in the most toxic relationship and have the most incredible sex of your life, and you still have to go back, get dressed, and go back to the same toxic relationship. Like, that is not the cure for anything, you
Sex
know?
is super important component of a relationship, but it is not the entire thing. And if there's only one area of your relationship that's going well, which is the sex part, but all of these other areas are going bad, and they're problematic, then you're only going to be having a good time when you're having sex, and what's up with the entire other part of it?
Yeah, like relationships are multidimensional, and we need to address every factor of it. We cannot just pretend that if one thing is okay, then the rest is. For example, um, I'll give the most basic example. You could be a multimillionaire and have all your financial problems resolved,
Yeah.
but that does not equate to a successful relationship, right? Maybe you're lacking emotional connection, emotional maturity.
Yeah.
Maybe the sex isn't great, So we cannot attribute one single factor of the relationship to be good to say like, oh, the rest is good. No, we need it's multidimensional.
Yeah.
Is there's many different things that affect relationships, and I think going back to what we've been talking about from the very beginning, balance is key.
Yeah. And if you put too much emphasis on the sex, because sexuality ebbs and flows, what happens when, for whatever reason, because again, anything can affect and be a factor in affecting and impacting our sex and sexuality, for whatever reason, one day your partner doesn't doesn't want to have sex, or you have a mediocre encounter, or whatever it is, like something about that encounter isn't what it was before. Now that is going to rupture your entire thing because you had it in this pedestal and it was the only thing that you were latching on to.
It was the single thread that was keeping everything until it snapped and everything goes to shit.
And that can cause further intimacy issues for other relationships or for yourself. And so I don't think that this is a real one. And
Yeah, so no, just
yeah,
because you're having incredible sex doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship is perfect. Yes, I encourage everybody to have incredible sex. However, assess the rest of the relationship. Balance is key here.
we want both.
Yes, we want.
Okay. Um, Importance of being each other's hype man and being proud of your couple, your
Yeah,
partner.
it's key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I'll use a personal example here, given that we're already married. So I have to do two jobs right now. So I'm doing therapy and also doing something else. And there's days where one job is not easy, or the therapy work or my other job, and I oftentimes find myself like struggling because it's very a big part of my identity is my work.
Yeah.
So I noticed that when I'm having these difficult days in whatever job is, whether it's therapy or my other one, you always come in and hype me up and tell me that I'm doing a good job because we both relatively work from home, so we see each other in some cases in the way we work.
Yeah.
And it's great to really have the your support in those difficult days, because oftentimes we need it. We don't get it from the immediate source, right?
Yeah.
So it helps me kind of bounce back and get back in the groove and hype myself up again. So yes, I'm a strong believer that your spouse can be your hype man, or your significant other or your partner can be your hype man, and that creates a really good feeling, and a really good dynamic in terms of feeling good about yourself individually.
We all have insecurities and we all have self-doubt. And sometimes that voice is stronger and louder than the one that believes that you can do it and you should. And having someone next to you that can kind of directly, challenge that insecurity and be like, you know what? No, I think you can do it. Or you 100% can do it. You're doing great. Or yes, I love this. It is such a benefit, and it can
Mhm.
really help not only the relationship but the individual too.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're not proud about, you're not proud of your couple, of your relationship, not your relationship, if you're not proud of your partner, of who
Hmm.
they are, then there's something to explore there, right? Because there we have to be able to be proud of the person we have chosen to be with,
Yeah.
because if you're not, then what what's up there,
Yeah, there's definitely something to address there if you
right?
don't feel out of the person you're with.
Because being proud of someone is like, I see you, you're doing good. Like, if you're not proud of them and you think of them and you're like, they're, then that can cause further issues. And so it's good to address.
Yeah, so I agree. I agree, and thank you for being my head man always.
You too. Everyone has problems. You just have to choose to talk about them and not ignore them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, again, life, there's an inherent pain to life. There's going to be struggles throughout the lifespan. We're going through different life transitions. We're losing things. We're outgrowing things. We're changing us. There's a lot. So yes, there's always going to be problems. Of the what changes
Mhm.
is the degree of the problem, but it's about choosing to address them and not not being in this place of avoidance, because the avoidance only works for so long. Eventually, it'll blow up.
Yeah, basically, I think that avoiding your problems, it's creating a problem.
Right.
That's yeah, it will create a different problem, and I think that again, going back to the communication side, I think that it's important that you feel comfortable communicating with your partner. And sometimes, and obviously, both therapists here, maybe you need therapy to get to that space in which you feel comfortable enough to talk about specific problems, right? I know I'm not telling you like spew everything because some things are not easy to talk about.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think that it's important that you're in a space in which you feel comfortable enough to feel supported by your partner, no matter the situation that arises.
If you hear meows in the background, yes, it's our little girl, a little baby Pepper, our cat. Yes, and I just wanted to very quickly say that the success of a relationship may look different depending on the relationship.
Hmm.
Sometimes getting a divorce is success. Sometimes breaking up, getting a divorce, taking a break, regrouping, coming back together, whatever it is, success is subjective. Society loves to tell us what success is, but it really is subjective. So again, with don't compare yourself. It's okay. There are going to be challenges, but you don't have to. Your relationship doesn't have to look like the prototype of what you see online or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Be best friends.
I mean, if you're not friends with your partner, then you are either having issues or you both are incredibly rich and this is an arranged marriage. Um,
Which, if it's an arranged marriage and it works, again, as long as it works, that's okay. However, if it's not an arranged marriage, or something that is for the benefit of to continue furthering or whatever, and it's because you chose to be with each other for love, and that, then how is it that you're not finding a friend in the person that you love, that you spend your days with,
yeah.
that you share your feelings and thoughts and experiences with? And I think that, if you like your partner, you're gonna be best friends.
I feel like it's an organic thing. Like
Yeah,
it just happens organically. I mean, well, I say we, but you spend so much time together with this individual, in dates and
yeah,
going to the movies or just doing nothing and spending time together. That's that's friendship. That's well, it's more than friendship. It's love and it's romantic and that's all these things. But there's a very important connection there that we can associate with best friends, with being somebody you trust,
yeah.
somebody you can rely on, somebody you feel supported by, you heard by, acknowledged. So yeah, I think that calling that specific aspect of the relationship the supportive, the trusting, the funny, the uplifting, the caring side, I think that friendship aspect of it is it's important. Because if you're not friends, then what are you doing? Then
That being said,
mhm,
your partner doesn't have to be everything. And you we don't get all of our needs from one person, and that's okay too. You don't have to your partner doesn't have to be your only friend, and that could be,
exactly.
cause issues too. It's about finding the balance. We love balance in here.
Yeah,
But also allowing for flexibility in your relationships with your partner. Yes, they can be your best friend, and that's a great thing, and we love it. And at the same time, have other friends that can fulfill other needs, and building community. But yes, I agree that you you should be able to feel community and friendship within your partnership.
yeah, I fully agree. Is that the last one?
That's the last one. I thank you again to everyone who sent me these, because these were all sent and I really appreciated them. Really interesting ones, classic ones. I want to reiterate that whatever works for your relationship is good, as long as it's not harming anyone, and it's, people are being satisfied and enjoying and happy, happy, happy for a moment. As long as it's, something that you're both having a good time. And, I feel like you don't have to follow any marriage advice if you don't want to. I think that sometimes there's this pressure to follow certain
Yeah,
advice. But think about it. It's things that have been passed down from generations for a reason. It sticks sometimes. If it helps you, amazing. If it doesn't, then that's fine too.
yeah. I think find what works for you, find your balance. I also wanted to add, tune in for next week's episode. We're going to do a full Spanish episode, our first one.
Yes.
Super stoked for that one. But yeah, thank you again for tuning in.
Sorry for my stuffy voice and for the tissues.
No worries, babe. We're all human here. And thank you for, tuning in.
We really appreciate you listening. Leave us comments about your thoughts, any feedback. Again,
Yeah,
we
and
really
if you have more advice to give us, we'll be happy to do another session regarding this one, a session two.
yes.
So let us know what you think. And again, thank you all for tuning in.
Till next time.
Bye bye.